Namaste. Good afternoon to all our viewers. This is Dr. Aparna. I am your emotional healing synergist. I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist, a passionate infopreneur, edupreneur, and medical writer. So, happy Independence Day to all our viewers. Today, uh, as we celebrate our 77th year of independence and 76 years of freedom, freedom, I thought we have to also achieve emotional freedom. So, emotional independence is as important as independence. So, what more good instead to address emotional freedom, that is emotional independence. So on my pursuit to address, promote, and propagate Ayurveda and psychotherapy, every week I come up with discussions on Ayurveda, mental health, and psychotherapy and all the related aspects. So, today's topic of discussion on this Independence Day, August 15th, is emotional independence or emotional freedom. So, you'll be like, Aparna, you're addressing emotional freedom, emotional freedom, emotional freedom. So, what is emotional freedom? And how do we achieve emotional freedom, and what is the impact of emotional freedom on holistic wellness? So emotional freedom, as the name itself, the word itself indicates that emotional freedom refers to the ability to manage and navigate one's emotions effectively without being overwhelmed by them. So it involves being in control of our emotional responses and being able to make choices that are not solely dictated by your feelings. So, in simple words, emotional freedom is the ability to manage and navigate our emotions, that is one's own emotion, effectively. So, controlling our emotions rather than emotions controlling us. So, my definition of emotional freedom is being free from feeling like a victim of and controlled by our emotions. So we are emotionally free when we know how to learn from and manage our feelings so that we are not reactive to them and they don't control us. It is having full control or on our emotions and managing our emotions, feelings, and expressing as we want to you know so emotional freedom, in psychological sense, refers to the state of being liberated from the grip of negative and overwhelming emotions. So it involves is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions in a healthy and constructive manner. So, emotional freedom empowers individuals to express themselves authentically and process emotions effectively. So, and make choices that align with our values and goals. Our emotions in alignment with our values and goals. So what all it encompasses is it encompasses emotional resilience, self awareness, and the capacity to navigate life's challenges without being controlled or overwhelmed by intense emotions. So this is the definition. I think if we have to understand emotional freedom, we have to also know about know some examples of emotional freedom. So what is emotional freedom? So letting go of grudges. Like imagine someone who has held on to a grudge for years. So with emotional freedom, they choose to release their resentment and forgive, freeing themselves from the emotional burden that resentment carries. So once I had heard from a guru that forgiving is not for them, forgiving is actually for ourselves. Because when we forgive, we be emotionally free. So we don't think of that person, we don't have to think of that person, and we don't have to waste our time thinking of this person did that to me, this person did that to me. Instead we can concentrate on something productive. So an example of emotional freedom could be letting go of grudges. And second sort of example for emotional freedom is in sometimes confidence, letting go of that anxiety, letting go of that fear. See, public speaking confidence, the best example I can give here is the public speaking confidence. That is an individual who used to be paralyzed by the fear while speaking in public, learns emotional freedom techniques to manage anxiety and fear and stress of that fear to speak in public. So as a result, they can now confidently address an audience without succumbing to the overwhelming nervousness. So, without being nervous, without being stressed, and without having a fear, a person can speak, in public with confidence. That is also an example of emotional freedom, because we are letting go of fear, we are letting go of anxiety, and we are letting go of nervousness and controlling our emotions. The next example of emotional freedom is managing grief. So, a person who has lost a loved one experiences waves of grief. So, with emotional freedom, they are able to process their grief in a healthy way, allowing themselves to feel the emotions, that is, to recognize their emotions and to manage their emotions without becoming consumed by the emotions or the grief. So managing grief also is an example of emotional freedom. So a person who has lost a loved one, not being caught up or succumbing or being consumed by the grief, letting go of that grief, and being able to process their grief in a healthy way. This is also an example of emotional freedom. And the next example of emotional freedom is navigating relationship conflicts. See, emotional freedom can work in all circumstances. Like, emotional freedom enables individuals to express their feelings openly, be assertive by being assertive and not being arrogant, and being open and being empathetic in conflicts. So they can manage their emotions and communicate effectively, leading to healthier resolutions in relationship. So emotional freedom can work also in the conflict resolution in a relationship, or conflict resolution in a professional setup as well. So, and overcoming social anxiety, this is one more example of emotional freedom. See, someone who once struggled with social anxiety can use emotional freedom techniques to address their fears. So this empowers them to engage in social situations with greater ease and reduced anxiety. So overcoming social anxiety is also an example of emotional freedom. Next is releasing stress. When faced with a stressful situation, a person practicing emotional freedom can tap into relaxation techniques, allowing them to manage stress and prevent it from escalating into overwhelming tension. So preventing the stress to be, the normal stress to become a mental health disorder. So preventing the stress and managing your emotions accordingly, this is also an example of emotional freedom. Embracing self expression. So emotional freedom encourages people to express their creativity without fear of judgment. So embracing self expression, that is being able to self express, this can also be, combined or amalgamated with the public speaking thing. So being, without having that fear of judgment, you express your creativity, you express your work, you express your feelings. So an individual who hesitated to share their art or writing may now confidently showcase their work. This is also an example of emotional freedom. Next, coping with changes. If someone is facing a major life change like a career shift or relocation, so adaptability and, being open to change, coping with the change is also, that also uses emotional freedom tools to navigate uncertainty, because you have a comfort zone there. You are in a comfortable place, and you have to change or you have to shift to another place. So we will have to navigate certain type of uncertainty and embrace the new chapter with optimism and adaptability. So, and then breaking patterns of negative self talk. This is also an example of emotional freedom. So, how? A person who struggled with self doubt and negative self talk, so learns emotional freedom techniques to challenge those patterns. So they replace self criticism and self compassion and self encouragement. See, the feelings to replace negative patterns, emotional patterns, to positive patterns. This is a kind of, a distraction, and to manage your emotions. This is also an example of manage your emotions as well as have control on the emotions. So this is also an example of emotional freedom. Next is embracing vulnerability. So, emotional freedom enables individuals to embrace vulnerability, that is, sharing their authentic selves with others without fear of rejection. If you have to tell someone something about yourself, any truth or something, to your, maybe in a relationship or maybe in a professional setup, that also, the sharing of your authentic self, without be having the fear of judgment or the anxiety of it. So that is also, and fear of rejection as well, this person might reject me. So this, fosters, this is also an example of emotional freedom, embracing vulnerability, that I am vulnerable and I had done this, but now I am a changed person. So this fosters deeper connection in relationships. So what it does is it can foster deeper connection in relationships as well as in, in a professional setup. So all these example, like what does emotional freedom do? Emotional freedom empowers individuals to take control of their emotional experiences, leading to greater well-being, that is holistic well-being, mental and physical well-being, then self-acceptance. You are now accepting yourself the way you are, and the ability to lead a more fulfilling life. So the next question would be, how do we attain emotional freedom? So how to attain emotional freedom? Emotional freedom is the result of, learning how to take emotional responsibility. That is responsibility of our feelings, responsibility of our emotions. Whenever you take accountability of your emotions, that is the start of the attaining in that is the start for attaining emotional freedom. So here I'll give you some strategies to attain emotional freedom. So self awareness. So understand, self awareness is the most important aspect whenever you consider of your mental health. Not only in emotional freedom, but also we talked about emotional intelligence in our last session. Even to improve or develop emotional intelligence, we need to have self awareness first. What is self awareness? Here is understanding your emotions, their triggers and their intensity. Regularly check in with yourself to identify how you are feeling. So, what makes you angry? See, keeping a note of what makes you angry, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, analyzing your feelings, analyzing your emotions. So, what is you can, in this way, you understand your emotions, you understand their triggers, you understand the intensity of the triggers as well. So, next is being mindful. So once you understand your emotions, from next you have to be mindful. You don't react in the same manner, and you have to manage your emotions. So what you do here is mindfulness. Practice being present in the moment. You give a caution that last time this happened and you reacted in some way. So you're cautioning your mind, like practice being present in the moment. Observing your emotions. First you observe your emotions without judging them. Okay, this makes me happy, this makes me sad, this makes me upset, this gives me grief, this makes me hold on to grudges. So, first observing your emotions without judgment. Then this helps you respond to situations rather than reacting impulsively. What you are ultimately doing is you learn to respond to situation rather than you react to situations impulsively. So emotional regulation here, next comes the emotional regulation. Once you're aware of your emotions, next you have to regulate your emotions. So learn techniques to manage intense emotions. So such as there are some deep breathing techniques, some meditation, some pranayama. We had talked about pratyahara of yoga. So pratyahara is turning inward. So you with that is withdrawal of the senses. In the simple words, that I have made videos on yoga pratyahara as well. If you want, I'll give the links in the description. Go check out the videos if you want to know how to regulate emotions. So next is thought reframing. After you regulate your emotions, you have to reframe your thoughts. Why? You have to change the negative thoughts into the positive thoughts. So thought reframing is challenge negative thought patterns and replace them with more balanced and realistic perspectives. So you are challenging negative thought patterns and replacing them with more balanced and realistic perspectives. So realistic goals, maybe realistic plans. You are changing, you are doing it. And remember this attaining emotional freedom is not a one day process. There is no instant recipe to attain emotional freedom. This is a lifelong process. We keep learning every day. We keep analyzing your emotions. We keep, getting, becoming more aware of our emotions. We becoming more mindful and regulating our emotions and thought reframing. Next comes the self compassion. You have to be compassionate to yourself as well. Like treat yourself with kindness. Don't overjudge yourself. If you have done your if you have even if you have reacted something impulsively, or you could not speak in a public event, or something goes wrong by you, don't treat yourself with kindness and understanding, just as you would treat your friend. You know, if your best friend commits some mistakes or does something, you how will you treat your friend? No, treat yourself in the same way, and avoid self criticism and practice self acceptance. Okay, this take account, be accountable of your emotions. So take that accountability, that responsibility. Okay, I have reacted in the way, what better can be done? Don't think of it and criticize yourself. Instead of that, you can just take the learnings from it and move forward, because that also creates mental clutter. If you hold on to that and you start criticizing yourself and telling that you are worthy of nothing, you have failed. All these you have to change with the positive things and healthy boundaries. And for emotional freedom as well, setting clear boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. You can't say yes to everything. For whatever you have to say no, you have to learn to say no as well. And you have to set clear boundaries. It is just to protect your emotional well-being, and you cannot just think of what you just feel bad about what other people think, what other people might presume. All these things, see, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. So we can't take everything into our mind. So keep healthy, set healthy boundaries and learn to say no whenever it is necessary, and just learn to prioritize your needs. Learn to prioritize yourself as well. So, and then in emotional, while attaining emotional freedom, another thing is effective communication. Learning to communicate effectively, expressing your emotions clearly and constructively. Be empathetic to others as well. You know, you can express your emotions clearly, you can be assertive enough, but hold back from being arrogant, and practice active listening. In communication, the first communication skill is effective communication skill is practice active listening. Why? Just to understand other emotions as well, because there will be misunderstandings and misinterpretation if we don't listen to others, if we don't practice active listening. Active listening, practicing active listening is also a skill. And then stress management. For the stress management as well, adopt healthy coping mechanisms for stress. Like you can start indulging in some hobby, some exercise, some sport, or spending time in nature. Whatever you feel that can relieve your stress, you can start doing many things, or meditation, pranayama, yoga, whatever exercises, dancing, swimming, art, whatever, and spending time, or gardening, whatever makes you free, gets you free from the stress and that anxiety. These things can help you majorly in stress management. And social support. See, surround yourself with positive and supporting individuals, people who you can trust, you, and who can provide emotional validation and encouragement to you. So surround yourselves with people who can encourage you for good. And this is emotional freedom is a lifelong learning. See, continuously educate yourself about emotional intelligence, emotional freedom. And we talk about emotional metamorphosis here. So emotional metamorphosis is a transformational disciplinary skills which you can develop over a period of time. So, and you invest yourself in personal growth, like reading books, attending workshops, or upgrading yourself. Whatever skill you like, you keep upgrading yourself. So this is a lifelong, learning. And remember, see, emotional freedom is a journey. It is not destination, it is a journey. And you can also seek professional help. If you feel stuck in anything, you can also seek professional help. Is You can consult a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist as needed. You can approach a mental health professional as you approach for your physical problems, same in the similar way. So, see, now we have discussed how to develop. See, what happens if you don't have, like, you can ask, what will happen if you don't have emotional freedom? How does it impact the mind and body? How does it impact the holistic wellness? So, what it does is, to the mind, as I said, it can give you, if not having emotional freedom always puts you in unnecessary or unwanted stress and anxiety. Suppressed or unmanaged emotions can lead to chronic stress and anxiety, and constantly feeling overwhelmed can negatively affect your mental well-being. If you're constantly feeling overwhelmed, that can negatively affect your mental well-being. So next is depression. The major cause, the major mental health illness we are seeing nowadays is depression. So bottling up your emotions, that is collecting your emotions, like, you're not being able to communicate it clearly or effectively, not being able to manage it. What happens is, and if it lacks emotional freedom, that can contribute to feelings of hopelessness and sadness, and potentially leading to depression. So it potentially leads to, depression and low self esteem. So after depression and low self esteem, see, difficulty in expressing emotions and navigating, your interpersonal relationships can result in low self esteem and feelings of inadequacy. And next is the negative thought patterns. See, emotionally unaddressed. So the emotions which are unaddressed, or unaddressed issues can give rise to, a chance to develop, negative thought patterns. And rumination is, you are thinking of constantly you're thinking of something which is, constantly going in your mind, that you did not give a good presentation, you did not give a good presentation, okay, I did not give a good presentation, I am worthless and I am a failure, I am not worthy enough of, being in that company or being in that position. That, or it may be a conflict. Oh, I had a fight with the partner, or I had a fight with the colleague, or I had a fight with the with someone who, and you have that event going on in your mind continuously, you know and that is called rumination, where you're thinking of something continuously, dwelling into it, and you have, consistent negative thought about it, and you develop negative thought patterns. And what happens is, when you're not emotionally free, your decision making gets impaired. So if you the inability to manage emotions can cloud judgment and lead to impulsive decisions driven by strong emotions rather than rational thinking. The impulsive decisions take over the rational thinking. So what happens is, the decision making ability gets impaired. And what happens is, all this leads to relationship struggles. So poor emotional, response, expression and understanding can strain relationships, as miscommunications and unaddressed emotions. You keep something in your mind and that goes on, and you don't talk, and the misunderstandings or the misinterpretations remain, which lead to conflict. All this is, and it leads to relationship struggles. What I told now is, how is the mind affected, the impact on mind of not being emotionally free. So we are now talking about impact on the body of not being emotionally free. So physical health issues, chronic stress due to unmanaged emotions can lead to physical health problems. So what you will have, cardiovascular issues, you may have develop weakened immune system, and you may also experience digestive disorder. And the main thing which is disrupted is sleep here. Sleep disruptions due to anxiety, fear, and stress. So emotional distress can interfere with sleep patterns, leading to insomnia or poor quality sleep. There is, the quality of the sleep is disrupted here. Fatigue and energy drain. So constantly grappling with unaddressed emotions can, emotionally and mentally it is draining. It is also physically draining. A person feels fatigue, that is being tired all the time, physically fatigued, and he or she has reduced energy levels. So, and psychosomatic symptoms is, psycho is your mind, psychological, and somatic is your body. So there will be both psychosomatic symptoms. So both the symptoms will, be seen together. That is, unresolved emotional issues can manifest as, physical symptoms like headache, stomach aches, muscle tension, and there will be no apparent medical cause. This is not because of some physical abnormality or physical disorder. It is because of the not having emotional freedom. So, and you will have a compromised immunity. That is, prolonged emotional distress weakens the immune system, so making the body more susceptible to illnesses and infections. You may develop illnesses and infections. And unhealthy coping mechanisms, what happens is, when emotional freedom is lacking, individuals may resort to unhealthy coping mechanisms like overeating, substance abuse, or excessive screen time. All these can happen. You will have, unhealthy coping mechanism to cope with stress or to cope with your anxiety or fear. What you do is, you develop, unhealthy habits. You may start, smoking a lot, consuming alcohol and drugs, substance abuse, everything is there. Or, you become more and more addicted to mobile and social media nowadays. So see, the absence of emotional freedom can create a cycle where emotional distress negatively impacts both mind and, both mental and physical health. Addressing and working towards emotional freedom can lead to improved well-being, healthier relationships, and a more balanced life. So there is a book on, emotional freedom by Dr. Judith Orloff. See, I wanted to, discuss about this book. If you happen to get some time and if you're interested, you can go through the book. The book is called Emotional Freedom, and it is written by Dr. Judith Orloff. And she writes in the book is, see, this book is likely to explore various aspects of emotional intelligence. So it provides tools and strategies to understand and manage your emotions effectively. So it also covers self awareness, emotional regulation, communication, and relationships. So emotion, this book, emotional freedom could be, like, it is structured and it guides in readers in understanding and achieving emotional well-being. So what are the key insights of this book? Like, understanding emotions, This book emphasizes on the importance of understanding and acknowledging one's emotions as a fundamental step towards emotional freedom, as I already said. Next is the emotional regulation. See, Dr. Orlov provides techniques and strategies to regulate and manage, strong emotions, allowing, readers to respond to situations in a more balanced and constructive manner. And it also talks about empathy and communication. The book highlights about the significance of the empathy in relationships and effective communication, and it provides, guidance on how to express emotions and understand the emotions of others, the mindfulness and the self-care part, and overcoming negative patterns, stress reductions, and the relationship dynamics and empowerment. So, it is a good read. We'll talk about the book more in the, next session, and we'll talk about, how emotional freedom plays, a pivotal role in holistic wellness, and what all can be done, like, to achieve, start our journey to emotional freedom. As I said, this is a journey. And what are the practical applications of emotional freedom in mental health, settings. So we'll discuss all of it in the next session, in the part 2 of emotional freedom. And For today, that is it. And let me know of your thoughts, of what you thought of the, share your thoughts of the session. And if you want me to address some other topic, let me know in the comments section. I will come up with the topics relating to Ayurveda and mental health. And once again, happy Independence Day to all, and namaste. That's it for today.